Okay, so we are recording. Good afternoon, guys. So for this session, we'll have a mini review of your skeletal muscle and reflex physiology. So the slides, some of the slides here, or most of the slides here, are from two of my inspirations in both in anesthesiology and in teaching. So it's Dr. Larry King, which was the former program director ng LeapMed, professor in physiology as well, and si Dr. Mary Jocelyn Bautista, also an anesthesiologist and professor namin sa neuro ng LeapMed. So we will tackle here the most important concepts and high-yield concepts na lumalabas sa short exams and long exams. So I hope we are able to clarify these concepts sa session na to. So this will be quick, but I think comprehensive naman. Okay? So let's start with skeletal muscle physiology. So, di ba, we have three types of muscles. We have skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and smooth muscles. So for this time, we'll be discussing the only voluntary muscle, the only one that we can control, which is yung ating skeletal muscle. Okay? So here's our roadmap. Di ba, pag nagre-review tayo, lagi akong gumagawa ng mind map or roadmap. And the reason for that is para hindi tayo maligaw. Di ba, when you go from one place to another, di ba, you start from where you are and kung saan ka papunta para hindi ka maligaw. Same thing when you're studying. Para hindi isolated yung concepts na inaaral mo, para hindi isolated yung flashcards mo, or isolated yung ating samplexes, yung pagsagot niyo ng items doon, dapat alam niyo kung saan i-categorize itong question na to, itong concept na to, so that everything is connected in your mind. Okay? So we're going to discuss structure and function, anatomy and physiology. Laging magkasama yan because function is always correlated with structure. Okay, so we'll be discussing the gross structure of yung muscle and yung microscopic or yung histological structure ng ating muscle pertaining to ating cross-bridge cycling or ating contraction later. So we'll be discussing ano ba relationship ng excitation, contraction, coupling, ano ba ibig sabihin yan? What does cross-bridge cycling mean? Anong connection itong dalawa? And why ATP is the energy currency of the cell? Saan ba ginagamit yun sa ating skeletal muscle contraction? And then after we've learned the basics of the anatomy and physiology ng ating skeletal muscle, so alam natin yung structure niya, tapos paano siya gumana, we now determine its characteristics in terms of biophysics and mechanics. Ano ba yung types of muscle fibers? Ano ba yung types of motor units natin? What will happen if I increase the intensity to the force? Kapag in-increase ko yung stimulation, what will happen to the force? Increase the length or the tension, diba? What would happen to the force generated? So this will be our roadmap for skeletal muscle. So we start with skeletal muscle structure. So for skeletal muscle structure, as you can see, we start from muscle, which is the biggest, all the way sa ating myofilaments, which is the cytoskeleton, and which is the smallest part of your muscle, of your contractile unit. And as you can see, very analogous to sa ating inaral sa ating nerve tissues. Diba? We have our nerve, diba dati? Tapos meron din tayong nerve fascicle, tapos yung nerve fiber mismo. The same thing here. We have a muscle composed of different fascicles or groups of muscles and yung individual muscle fibers natin. So same thing with our nerves, yung muscle din natin, kung sa nerve it's epineurium, dito it's your epimysium. Kung ang fascicle natin sa nerve is perineurium, here it's perimysium, yung covering, yung connective tissue covering niya. And yung individual muscle cells and fibers natin are covered with endomysium. Okay? Now, so yung muscles natin composed of groups of muscle cells called fascicles. Na yung muscle cells natin, okay, these are individual cells. So, di ba cells are made up of organelles. And yung organelles, the special organelles ng ating muscle cells for contraction would be our myofibrils. So imagine nyo, itong mga myofibril, sila yung mga organelles. And lastly, yung myofilaments natin, which is yung smallest structures nga, ito yung ating mga cytoskeleton. The actin and the myosin filaments, or yung thick and the thin filaments. So for a closer look, so we start again from the muscle. Okay, composed of different fascicles. Itong mga to, these are fascicles, group of muscle fibers. And then individual muscle fibers, which are individual muscle cells. Mga isang cell yan. Okay, which are, of course, cells natin composed of organelles, which is the myofibril. Right here, the myofibril. And yung myofibril natin composed of our sarcomeres. So kung mapapansin nyo, striated siya. It's because meron tayong mga delineations or sarcomeres, which is the basic contractile unit. So yung mga maliliit na structures na yan, yan yung pinaka-smallest units na kayang mag-contract. And the reason for that is we have our myofilaments, which are our thick and yung thin filaments natin. As you can see, tinawag siyang thick, si myosin, ang kapal, oh. And yung thin filament, ito siya. Manipis lang. Okay? So, when it comes to our sarcomere, so this is what it looks like sa electron microscope. Okay? So, itong unit na to, this is a sarcomere and nagko-contract yan. Okay? So, meron siyang different parts. This one, yung two ends ng isang sarcomere is what you call your Z line. Okay? And then your thick filaments are right here. Okay? Yung mga myosin filaments mo itong color blue and yung thin filaments mo itong color red right here. Okay? And we have yung different zones na tinatawag natin. We have yung I band, A band, and yung H zone. Okay, so isa-isayin natin. Yung I band, okay, as you can see, it's only composed of thin filaments. So kung I band is only composed of thin filaments, okay, it's made up of your actin. As you can see sa electron micrograph, ano lang siya, light. Ano lang siya, electron lucent siya. Okay? Electron lucent siya kasi thin nga lang siya. And yung pala tandaan ko dito para maalala, I band, so payat lang naman yung I, di ba? So payat. So thin. In comparison to your H zone, 'di ba? Di ba ito I, lang, payat lang siya. H ang taba. Ay. Okay, ang taba. So H zone, this is your H zone. Mataba siya kasi it's made up of your thick filaments or your myosin filaments. So as you can see sa electron micrograph, siya? Electron dense. 'Di ba? Kasi it's made up of your myosin thick filaments. And lastly, itong A band, okay, as you can see. So H zone, ito lang siya guys. From here to here. That's your H zone. Thick filaments lang. Ito. Okay. Pero, itong A band, okay, itong A band, ang palatandaan ko dyan, letter A for all. Okay, kasi it composes both of your actin and your myosin. So, parehas thick and thin filament. So, A for all, both thick and thin filament. So, sorry, itong hinighlight ko kanina, this is your A band, pero itong medyo makakapal dito sa gitna, composed only of your thick filaments, that's your H zone. Okay? Yung thick filaments. A band, lahat itong makakapal dito kasi combination na siya ng thick and thin filaments. So arranged from biggest to smallest, we can see here, okay, yung different composition ng ating muscle. So, when you're answering questions like this, okay, the best way is, sorry, sige, let's go. So, arranged from biggest to smallest, so we have here, kung makikita niyo yung mga options, ang tekniko dito is tignan niyo kung ano yung may common. So, number 4. Okay, so number 4 is the muscle. So, obviously, that's the biggest. Then, wag niyo na tignan tong mga common, 4, 3, 2. Tignan niyo na lang yung magkaiba sa kanila. So, 1, 5, and 5, 1. So, ang kino-compare dito is myofibril and myofilament. So, obviously, ito yung organelle natin. And yung myofilament natin is our cytoskeleton. So, ito yung pinakamaliliit na contractile units natin. Okay? So, ang mas malaki is yung 5 and then yung 1 kasi from biggest to smallest. So, check natin. 4, that's your muscle. That's the biggest. 3, fascicle. 2, muscle fiber. 5, myofibril. 1, myofilament. Okay? So, that's from biggest to smallest. So we now move on sa bulk ng ating discussion. That's a skeletal muscle function. Okay, so we're going to discuss ano ba yung purpose ng excitation, contraction, coupling, cross-bridge cycling, and saan nanggagaling yung ATP for these processes. So here is yung nakita nyo ng steps in the excitation, contraction, coupling. Okay, so air need rock yung mnemonic. So, but you don't need this mnemonic naman kung naintindihan nyo na kung ano yung nangyayari. So we have action potential, influx of calcium, release of acetylcholine, nicotinic receptor stimulation, influx of sodium, depolarization, dihydropyridine stimulation, ryanodine opening, and calcium release. So isa-isahin natin yan. So of course, to stimulate yung ating muscle to contract, we need to have a stimulation from our motor neuron. So there's a motor neuron action potential traveling here. Okay? And yung action potential, syempre, nagde-depolarize yung membrane that activates what we call your calcium, okay? So, voltage-gated channels. Okay? So, yung calcium voltage-gated channels natin, once na-depolarize yung membrane dito, it will open and it will allow calcium to enter here sa ating terminal button. Pag nag-enter yung calcium dyan sa terminal button, it will signal these vesicles here. So, alam natin sa histo, di ba, these vesicles contain your neurotransmitters. Okay, primarily for muscle movement, that's your acetylcholine. Okay, so that will allow your acetylcholine to be exocytosed. So magkakaroon ng exocytosis, allowing acetylcholine, okay, to be released and to bind sa ating ion channels. Kapag nag-bind na yung acetylcholine dito sa ion channels, okay, pag nag-bind yung acetylcholine doon sa ion channels, it will open the ion channel, okay, and it will allow sodium entry. Okay? So nag-bind yung acetylcholine doon sa ion channel, papasok yung sodium. And so what happens kapag pumasok yung sodium doon sa ating, so ito yung muscle natin guys, ito yung muscle membrane. Kapag pumasok yung sodium, hindi magkakaroon ng mga positive charges dito, madidepolarize yung ating muscle. So ang tawag dito is your motor end plate. So dyan nagsimula yung ating depolarization and yung action potential to stimulate our muscle. So ngayon, nagkakaroon na ng action potential dito, action potential, ayan, may voltage-gated sodium channels, propagate na yung action potential. Saan napupunta yung action potential na yun? So ito, action potential, and then it will go down to what we call these T-tubules, okay, transverse tubules. And so kung ito yung plasma membrane ng muscle, okay, kung ito yung plasma membrane ng muscle, itong T-tubules natin are parang invaginations of this plasma membrane, okay, allowing the action potential to be propagated right here sa T-tubule niya to. Okay? Pag na-propagate na yung action potential dyan, it activates what we call your dihydropyridine receptor. Your dihydropyridine receptor, para siyang sensor. Kapag nakita niya, nag-depolarize na yung membrane, may charges, what will happen is magkakaroon siya ng conformational change. Kapag nagkaroon ng conformational change, itong dihydropyridine receptor, ang gagawin niya, hihilahin niya, okay, or bubuksan niya itong ryanodine receptor. Now, that ryanodine receptor is responsible for the regulation of yung calcium release within the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so di ba we learned dun sa pinakaunang lesson sa physio that your smooth endoplasmic reticulum also contains calcium, and that is especially true for sa ating muscle fibers, in which calcium is very important for contraction. Okay? So parang yung ryanodine receptor, siya yung guardia, okay, to block the release of calcium kapag wala pang stimulation. And then pag na-activate na yung dihydropyridine receptor ng action potential, hihilahin niya yung ryanodine receptor, bubuksan niya tong channel na to, allowing now calcium to go into the cytoplasm of the muscle, called your myoplasm. So yan yung cytoplasm. Okay? So huwag kayong malilito, merong calcium dito kanina, okay, na pumasok sa terminal buton ng nerve. Okay? Ang importance ng calcium dito, dun sa nerve fiber, is to release your neurotransmitters. Ang purpose ng calcium release dito sa muscle mismo, okay, is for your muscle contraction. Okay? So, mamaya na natin intindihin tong cross-bridge cycling. So, let's summarize first yung steps ng excitation, contraction, coupling ulit. So, nagkaroon tayo ng action potential dito sa motor axon terminal. Yung action potential na yon allowed your calcium to go inside your terminal button. Yung calcium na yan is a signal for the release of your neurotransmitter, which is your acetylcholine. Okay? Pag na-sense ng vesicles yung calcium, mag-exocytosis yung acetylcholine, which will bind to the receptors, nicotinic receptors, doon sa motor end plate. Kapag nag-bind yung acetylcholine dito sa motor end plate, that will open that channel. Okay? Pag nag-open yung channel, it will allow sodium to go in, kakaroon ng depolarization, ayan, influx, magkakaroon ng depolarization, and that depolarization goes through this muscle membrane, okay, allowing your dihydropyridine receptor to be stimulated. Hihilahin niya si ryanodine receptor to open, okay, hilahin niya to open your calcium channels here from your sarcoplasmic reticulum, which is this one, to allow calcium to go inside the cell. Ngayon, ang dami-daming nangyari doon para saan? Okay? So, ang dami-daming nangyari doon. Para saan ba yung ginawa nating excitation, contraction, coupling? The entire goal of your excitation, contraction, coupling, as you can see, is for the release of calcium inside your muscle. And para saan ba yung calcium na yan na nire-release sa ating muscle? Because, di ba, if you remember kanina, meron tayong thick filaments, which is your myosin right here, and meron din tayong thin filament, which is your actin right here. Okay? So ito yung thick filament, ito yung thin filament, actin. Itong mga bilog-bilog dyan. Yan. Pag sama-samahin mo yung mga bilog-bilog na yan, that's your actin. Okay. Yung actin na yan, okay. So yung myosin na to pala, kakabit dapat yan dito kay actin. Tapos hihilahin itong myosin si actin to facilitate the contraction. So, kunwari ito yung myosin, ito yung actin, kakabit siya kay actin, tapos magko-contract. Okay? The problem is, tinatakpan ng protein called your tropomyosin, okay, yung binding sites ni myosin kay actin. Ayan, tingnan itong tropomyosin, itong long blue fiber right here. tinatakpan niya yung binding sites ni actin. Okay? So, hindi tuloy makapag-bind ngayon si myosin kay actin kasi may takip, may gwardiya ito si tropomyosin. So, anong ginagawa nung calcium na galing sa sarcoplasmic reticulum? Bakit tayo nag-excitation contraction coupling? Para lang makarelease ng calcium. Because calcium, okay, when it binds to this protein right here called your troponin, okay, so meron tayong isa pang protein here called your troponin, magbabind yung calcium kay troponin, si troponin, ihilahin niya si tropomyosin, okay, hihilahin ni troponin si tropomyosin to get out of the way to expose yung binding sites ni actin. Ito, tingnan niyo yung binding sites, itong mga to, itong dark portions. Since hinila na ni troponin, si tropomyosin out of the way, makakapag-bind na ngayon si myosin kay actin. Okay? And magagawa lang ni troponin yon kapag may nag-bind ng calcium sa kanya. Okay? So, the entire purpose ng pag-release natin ng calcium sa lahat ng ginawa natin is just to remove the tropomyosin from the binding sites ni actin para makakabit si myosin doon para makapag-contract yung muscle. Okay? So that's excitation contraction coupling. We now move on to cross-bridge cycling. Kung kanina, tinawag siyang excitation contraction coupling. Okay? Because, tinawag siyang excitation contraction coupling kasi excitation of the nerve couples with the contraction ng muscle. Yung contraction na part doon, ito na yon, mag-i-explain doon, which is yung cross-bridge cycling. Now, you may have seen this diagram from Dr. Daisy Tagarda. Okay? Well, I think this is a little bit difficult to make sense for me at least. Kasi nag-start tayo sa number 1, binding. Tapos may ADP and PI na kaagad dito. Tapos nung nag-power stroke, nirelease na kaagad niya si ADP and PI. So, you might be confused saan nanggaling yung ADP, PI na yan. Bakit nandyan? Bakit nagre-release? So, I'm going to discuss na lang muna this diagram from Dr. King and then relate natin mamaya sa diagram ni Dr. Tagarda. I think this is easier to understand. Okay? Kasi, maganda yung kwento dito. Nagsimula tayo sa katatapos lang na previous contraction. So, attached state na tinatawag. So, tapos na yung contraction nung nakaraan. Okay? Nag-contract na. Naka-attach yung myosin kay actin, tapos na yung contraction. How do we then initiate another contraction? So, tapos na yung unang contraction sa attached state. Okay, how do we then initiate another contraction? So, to initiate another contraction, kailangan i-release ko si myosin from my actin and then prepare again to be attached and to contract ulit. So, the very first thing that myosin and actin have to do is to release themselves from each other. Okay? Paano magre-release ngayon? So, nakakabit to. Ayan, si myosin tsaka si actin nakakabit. So, paano ngayon matatanggal yung connection nila sa isa't isa? Pag nag-bind si ATP, si energy currency natin sa myosin head, that is a signal, okay, yung binding na yun, yung binding lang mismo, hindi pa yung breakdown ni ATP. The binding itself ni ATP dun sa myosin head allows it, ito, nag-bind si ATP dun sa myosin head, allows it to be released from actin. Ayan, no? ATP binds to myosin, causing the release, okay, from yung actin connection niya kanina. Then, after that, myosin hydrolyzes ATP. So, pag na-hydrolyze ni myosin si ATP, okay, so mag-breakdown si ATP into ADP and phosphate. So, adenosine diphosphate na lang kasi tinanggal mo siya ng isang phosphate. So, ADP and P. Ngayon, since hinydrolyze ni myosin si ATP into ADP and P, nag-release siya ngayon ng energy. May energy na siya ngayon. Okay? And that will lead sa ating myosin to be in the cocked state. Kung mapapansin nyo, kanina, si myosin, naka-bend siya ng ganyan, 45 degrees. Nung na-hydrolyze na niya si ATP into ADP and P, tinan nyo yung configuration ngayon ni myosin. 90 degrees na nakatayo. Yung analogy ni Dr. King dito dati is, di ba, pag nakayuko ka daw na 45 degrees, pagod. So, naka-release state ka. Ngayon, kapag active ka daw, may energy ka, nakatayo, upright, 90 degrees. So, yan yung active ka, yan yung cocked state na tinatawag. So, active na si myosin. Ready na ulit para mag-contract. So, ginamit niya yung energy ng ATP to be in the cocked ready state, okay, para maging 90 degrees na siya to be ready to bind to actin ulit mamaya. So, ngayon, ready na siya, 90 degrees, it can now bind again to your actin in what we call your cross-bridge state. So yan yung tinatawag nating, yan dyan ang galing yung salitang cross-bridge cycling. Cross-bridge, ayan, parang bridge kasi may connection si myosin and actin. So cross-bridge state, nakakabit na ngayon si myosin kay actin. Okay? Ngayon, nakakabit na, ready na sila, may energy na sila. Myosin can now contract using your power stroke. Okay? And sa power stroke na yan, nare-release both si phosphate and si ATP. Okay? So kung babalikan natin yung diagram ni Dr. Tagarda, nagsimula siya dito sa myosin cross-bridge attaching. So this nag-cross-bridge muna. Okay, so nag-bind, so nag-cross-bridge. Nakapag-cross-bridge na siya kasi na-hydrolyze na niya si ATP into ADP and P, so may energy na siya. Then, may energy na siya, it can now have its power stroke. So makakontract na ni myosin si actin for your muscle contraction. That will allow the release again of your ADP and PI. So the power stroke is the signal for the release of your ADP and PI. So ngayon, nakakabit si myosin kay actin. Ano nga ulit yung signal natin to release yung connection nila from one another, si myosin and actin? That would be the binding of your ATP. Pag nag-bind si ATP kay myosin, magre-release yung connection nila. Binding lang hindi pa hydrolysis. Pero ngayon, si myosin, pagod na siya, katapos lang niya mag-contract, nasa 45-degree configuration siya. Tama? So, 45 degree, pagod. So, wala pa siyang energy. So, ang gagawin niya, i-hydrolyze niya si ATP back again to ADP and PI. Kinuha na niya yung energy from ATP, 90 degrees na siya, ready na ulit siya mag-cross-bridge cycling. So, cocked state na siya ulit. Okay? So, ano yung journey ni ATP sa ating cross-bridge cycling? Bakit siya tinawag na energy currency of the cell? Yung purpose natin, bakit tayo kumakain, bakit tayo nag-glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation is to produce ATP. And para lang yan, para pag nag-bind siya kay myosin, matanggal yung connection niya kay actin. Para magamit ni myosin yung energy ni ATP para maging cocked state siya to be ready for a contraction. Okay? And pag na-release na yung ADP and PI, power stroke na, magko-contract na yung muscle. Okay? So, yan yung purpose ng ating ATP and yan yung dahilan bakit siya tinatawag na energy currency of our cell. Okay? So, here are some key concepts sa ating excitation, contraction, coupling, and cross-bridge cycling. The entire goal ng excitation, contraction, coupling. Excitation, meaning the action potential sa motor neuron. Contraction, meaning yung contraction ng muscle, is to release calcium from your sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay? Bakit? Para saan yung calcium na yon? Because may gwardiya yung binding site ni actin, which is yung tropomyosin. Pagbabind si calcium dun sa troponin, troponin will pull tropomyosin out of the way, exposing the binding site of actin, allowing myosin to bind to actin for the contraction. And ayan, myosin binding to actin leads to your cross-bridge cycling. Okay? So your excitation, contraction, coupling, releasing your calcium from your sarcoplasmic reticulum leads to your cross-bridge cycling. Okay? Questions? Guys, hindi ko kita yung chat box, hindi ko rin kita yung reactions. Okay pa kayo?
Yes, wala naman po.
Prince, hello.
Yung nakalagay, yung kasi sa lek ni Doc, sabi yung power stroke is 90 to 45. 90.
Kasi, di ba, so 90 degrees, ibig sabihin, ready siya mag-contract. So pag nag-power stroke na siya, nakapag-contract na, pagod na ulit siya. So balik na siyang 45 degrees.
Okay.
Tapos, gagamitin niya ulit yung ATP for the next cycle para bumalik siyang 90 degrees.
Okay. Sige. Thank you.
Sige, thank you for that question. Okay na? Sige. Ito, try nyo to. The skeletal muscle of a knockout mouse is able to contract despite total depletion of intracellular skeletal muscle calcium concentration. What protein defect most likely explains the finding? Sige, 30 seconds. So, wala daw siyang intracellular calcium. So, wala daw laman calcium yung sarcoplasmic reticulum niya. Pero nakapag-contract pa rin daw yung muscle. So, what protein defect must explain this finding? Anyone? Meron, may hula? Sige, sapay.
Try ko lang.
Mm.
Yung, hindi ba yung troponin kasi naka-expose pa rin, parang naka-expose pa din siya.
Oh, malapit ka na, malapit ka na. So, wala, sige, malapit na. Kasi doon kakabit yung calcium dapat, 'di ba? Para i-pull yung
Yung tropomyosin.
yung tropomyosin. Ibig sabihin, itong mouse na to, wala siyang tropomyosin. Walang nagtatakip nung mga
Nung
actin
sa
binding
actin,
sites.
yeah, tama.
Oo. Kasi ang purpose lang naman ng calcium sa lahat ng ginawa natin is to expose the binding site ni actin para makapag-bind si myosin doon tapos makapag-contract siya. So kung wala naman siyang tropomyosin, hindi na niya kailangan yung calcium, makapag-contract na lang siya. ATP na lang kailangan niya. Okay? Sige. Okay, let's move on. So saan ang galing yung ATP? So okay, we have multiple sources of ATP. The fastest one would be from creatine phosphate. Kaya kung naririnig niyo yung mga nag-gym or weightlifter, okay, supplement sila ng creatine phosphate or creatine kasi it's a fast source of ATP for workouts. So sa creatine phosphate will be transformed to creatine. So napunta yung phosphate kay ADP to form ATP. That's very, very fast reaction. The second fastest would be glycolysis. Diba? From glucose to pyruvate. Okay, back to lactate. Okay. So that would produce 2 ATP. That's also very fast. And yung pinakamatagal natin but the most efficient would be oxidative phosphorylation in your electron transport chain, producing 32 ATP, pero kailangan niya ng oxygen kasi yung electron transport chain needs oxygen as the final electron acceptor. Okay? So this table summarizes yung ATP sources natin. Okay? We have direct phosphorylation through creatine phosphate, glycolysis, and oxidative phosphorylation. So both direct phosphorylation and glycolysis rapid. Mabilis lang sila nakapag-produce ng ATP. Meanwhile, since si oxidative phosphorylation, dadaan pa siya ng Krebs cycle and electron transport chain, medyo mabagal. Requirement for oxygen, si direct phosphorylation, hindi kailangan. Glycolysis, hindi rin kailangan. Glycolysis is an anaerobic process, does not require oxygen. Si oxidative phosphorylation, kaya nga oxidative, it requires oxygen. Okay? Pero, mabagal nga si oxidative phosphorylation, pero yung ability to supply energy niya is indefinite. Siya yung may malaking contribution sa pag-produce ng ATP or energy source. Through 32 ATP, okay, from your electron transport chain, okay. Yung glycolysis mo, sabi ko nga, 2 ATP lang na-produce niyan. Si direct phosphorylation, konti lang din. Creatine phosphate, depleted yan kaagad. Okay? So efficiency niyan, same thing, mababa for direct phosphorylation and glycolysis and very high for your oxidative phosphorylation, especially if you're going to do endurance work, okay, pang matagalang work. You need your oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so we're done with the skeletal muscle structure. So we discussed yung all the way from muscle, fascicle, muscle fiber, myofibril, and the myofilament. And then yung different parts ng ating sarcomere, the Z-line, the H-zone, which is, ano nga yung H-zone ulit natin? That's your thick filaments lang kasi H is mataba. So thick filaments lang. I-band, so puro I is payat lang. So that's your actin-thin filaments. And your A-band, so A for all. So both your actin and myosin combined. Okay, yun yung electron dense na nakita natin doon sa electron microscope. And then for the skeletal muscle function, we discussed excitation, contraction, coupling for the release of calcium. Yan lang yung purpose niya. And then yung cross-bridge cycling, which discusses how your myosin binds to actin, how it uses ATP to facilitate contraction. And different sources of ATP, creatine phosphate, glycolysis, and oxidative phosphorylation. Now we move on to skeletal muscle mechanics. So yung characteristics, okay, and relationships ng ating muscle fibers depending on the independent variable. So maraming mga VR questions matatanong dito, mga variation relationship questions. Okay, so we start differentiating between what we call type 1 fibers, ito yung mga yan, mga color red, slow twitch fibers, and what we call type 2B or fast glycolytic. So B for bilis. Okay, because they are able to contract fast, very fast. And sila yung mga puti dito. So as you can see, Myosin isoenzyme activity ni type 1 slow oxidative, itong mga red na to, is slow. Pero si type 2B, kaya nga 2B for bilis, fast. Meaning, it's able to hydrolyze yung myosin, di ba? Hina-hydrolyze ni myosin si ATP into ADP and PI to facilitate the contraction, power stroke. Mas mabilis, syempre, si 2B, si fast glycolytic. Okay? Contraction velocity natin, slow, kaya nga slow oxidative for your type 1, and fast for your type 2B. Okay? So, mabibilis mag-contract. Okay? In comparison to your type 1. Sarcoplasmic reticulum pumping capacity, moderate lang kay slow oxidative, pero fast kay fast glycolytic. So, as you can see, lahat ng pertaining to contraction, mabibilis si type 2B. Yung myosin hydrolysis of ATP, contraction velocity, sarcoplasmic reticulum pumping capacity ng calcium. Okay? Pero tingnan nyo, main source of ATP is type 1 slow oxidative is oxidative phosphorylation. Matagal nga siya, di ba? Kasi dadaanan pa niya yung Krebs cycle and electron transport chain. So, ayan, mabagal siya. In comparison to glycolysis, mabilis lang. Pero so kung mapapansin nyo, bakit parang puro benefit lahat kay type 2B, lahat puro fast. Pero tingnan nyo yung fatigability. Since is slow oxidative, yes, slow nga siya mag-contract, slow siya makapag-produce ng ATP, pero for longer periods naman. Kasi 32 ATP na po-produce niya. So, hindi siya ganun ka-fatigue. Hindi siya ganun nafa-fatigue. In comparison kay 2B, bilis, fast glycolytic fibers, okay? Glycolysis lang ginagamit niya to produce energy, 2 ATP lang, mabilis maubos, mabilis mapagod, okay? So, nafa-fatigue kagad siya. So, for glycolytic capacity, again, that's for your type 2B fiber. Oxidative capacity, that's for your slow oxidative fiber. This will explain, okay, why you have a predominance of your red fibers sa type 1 fibers, sa slow twitch fibers. Okay? Bakit ba naging red yan? Because of your myoglobin. Okay? Myoglobin carries your oxygen. Oxygen, important for your electron transport chain, for your oxidative phosphorylation, for you to produce 32 ATP. Okay? So kaya siya red, may myoglobin dyan to facilitate this production of a lot of ATP. In comparison sa ating fast twitch muscle fibers na primarily glycolysis lang naman ginagamit, yes, mabilis siya. Hindi niya kailangan ng oxygen. Anaerobic process lang naman ang glycolysis. So puti lang siya. Wala siyang myoglobin. Hindi ganun kataas ang myoglobin content. Okay, kaya red siya ang type 1 and white ang type 2B. And ang diameter ng fibers, moderate lang ang size ng fibers si type 1 and si type 2B, these are large fibers. So let's say may sunog. Wag naman. Let's say may sunog tapos kailangan bitbitin mo yung ref nyo palabas ng bahay. So what fibers will predominantly be activated? So syempre yung ating type 2B fibers. But if you are in a endurance marathon, so primarily you will recruit your type 1 slow oxidative fibers. Kasi long marathon yon, so you need your less fatigability and high endurance using your oxidative phosphorylation. So type 1 kailangan mo doon. For examples of muscles na primarily type 1, so endurance, diba? For example, in marathon, tumatakbo ka, probably your calf muscles, primarily your soleus or your gastrocs, okay? Gastrocnemius, sa calf muscles yon. For your type 2B, probably your quads, mga type 2B, mga fast glycolytic, can produce a lot of force in a very short time, very fast, pero easily nafa-fatigue. Okay? Yung mga naglo-long jump, yan. Kailangan nila ng type 2B fibers. Now, huwag kayo malito. Kanina, types of muscle fibers. Ito, type of motor unit. And what is a motor unit? It's one motor neuron and all the muscle fibers it innervates. Again, a motor unit is one motor neuron and all muscle fibers it innervates. So we have a small motor unit, so one motor neuron innervating konting muscles, and a large motor unit innervating a lot of muscle fibers. So ayan, type 1, few. Okay, si type 2, many fibers. Okay? So yung axons niya, small lang, kasi nga small lang siya. Pero relatively excitable, what does it mean kung maging relatively excitable? Ibig sabihin, kunyari, tatayo ka lang naman, tas maghuhugas ng pinggan, ang maunang marirecruit mo na muscle, na motor unit would be your small type 1 motor units kasi hindi ka naman mag-long jump or mag-weightlifting. So you're going to use first yung mga small motor units mo. Tatayo ka lang naman, maghuhugas ng pinggan. So yung mga small motor units lang gagamitin mo. So sila yung unang nare-recruit, sila ay relatively excitable. In comparison to your large type 2, they are relatively unexcitable because they require kailangan ng mataas na stimulus for you to be able to activate them. Kaya nga, yun yung example ko, pagbitbit ng ref. Okay, ma-activate mo lang yung mga type 2 motor units mo, yung mga large motor units mo. Okay, kapag meron talagang great need for it. Okay? So they are recruited first, they are frequently active, yan, naglalakad lang tayo, okay? Pero large motor units natin, they are recruited only during forceful contraction. And kung mapapansin nyo sa graphs na ito, okay, these are your small, itong graph na to is yung small motor units, itong graph na to is yung large motor units. Anong nauunang ma-activate? Your small motor units. And only then, kapag kailangan na talaga ng mataas na stimulus, will your large motor units be activated. Okay? And syempre, pag lahat na ng motor units are recruited, edi wala na. Maximum force na napaproduce mo. Okay, so ang key point lang dito sa graphs na to, your small motor units are excitable and they are the very first ones to be stimulated, to be excited. So now we move on sa ating biophysical relationships. There are an infinite number of ways to construct variation relationship questions dito, pero we will tackle the most important concepts here para hindi tayo malito and so that we can answer any question kung pagbalik-balik ta rin man yun. Okay, we will discuss here yung cause and effect. So kung VR to, ito yung 1, ito yung 2. Okay? So cause and effect, so ano yung relationship nila? Pag direct, an increase in 1 will lead to an increase in the 2. Kapag inverse, an increase in 1 will lead to a decrease in 2. Okay, so isa-isahin natin yan. So let's start with intensity and force. This is a very important slide kasi this will connect what we've learned in your nerve physiology and in your muscle physiology. So as we said, in excitation, contraction, coupling, in excitation, we have a nerve action potential, and in contraction, we have the muscle response. That's excitation, contraction, coupling. Your nerve action potential, okay, di ba meron tayong threshold potential, doon lang siya makapag-fire ng action potential. Okay? So kapag hindi pa siya umabot ng threshold potential, we call that your sub-threshold stimulus. So kung wala kang action potential, ano magiging response ng muscle mo? Hindi wala din. Walang nakarating. Di ba? Pero, kapag nakarating na ngayon, sa threshold potential, yung ating action potential, ay yung threshold potential, yung ating membrane potential, okay, umabot na yung potential ng ating neurons sa threshold potential, magkakaroon na siya ng action potential, the neuron will now fire, so may excitation ka na, therefore, magkakaroon na rin ng response yung ating muscle. Okay? So, since na-excite na yung ating nerve, okay, magko-contract na rin yung ating muscle. So, mayroon na tayong threshold response. Now, sabi natin sa nerve physiology na kahit pag narating na natin yung threshold potential, kapag nagkaroon na tayo ng action potential, kahit i-increase pa natin yung force ng stimulus, ayan, 4 millivolts, naging 5 millivolts, same pa rin yung amplitude ng aking action potential. Again, pag narating na natin yung threshold potential sa nerve, same pa rin yung magiging magnitude ng ating action potential. Hindi nagbabago. Pero does that mean na hindi rin magbabago yung response ng ating muscle? Okay? So, hindi ganun yun. Okay? Yes, hindi magbabago yung magnitude or yung amplitude ng aking action potential sa nerve. But the response of my muscle will strengthen. Let's say, nasa 4 millivolts ako. Konting contraction. So, 5 millivolts, mas malakas na contraction. 6 millivolts, mas malakas na contraction. Okay? So, di nagbabago yung magnitude ng action potential, but the response of my muscle gets stronger the more I increase my stimulus. So, ano ba tong terms sa submaximal and maximal na to? Bago natin intindihin tong submaximal, discuss muna natin yung maximal. Okay? There will come a point kapag inactivate natin kapag nagbigay tayo ng stimulus, there will come a stimulus in which maximum na rin yung response ng aking muscle. Let's say 40 millivolts. Example lang. Let's say 40 millivolts, tapos ginawa kong 41 millivolts, di na nag-i-increase yung strength ng aking muscle contraction. Kasi probably na-recruit na lahat ng motor units. Okay? That 40 millivolts, kung saan hindi na nag-i-increase yung aking muscle response, that's what you call your maximal stimulus, which will produce a maximal response. Okay? So now we understood what maximal response means. Now we can understand what submaximal is. Submaximal stimulus is between your threshold potential, between your threshold stimulus, and your maximal stimulus. Okay? So let's say kung ito, 4 millivolts, clear muna natin. Kung 4 millivolts yung threshold stimulus ko, tas 40 millivolts, example lang, yung aking maximal stimulus, between 5 and 39 millivolts, yan lahat ng aking submaximal stimulus. Okay? And within my submaximal stimulus, mag-i-increase pa rin ng mag-i-increase yung response ng aking muscle until I reach my maximal stimulus, maximal contraction, because all my motor units have now been recruited. Okay? So, let's say at 7 millivolts, okay, can I say na same ang magnitude ng action potential ko sa neuron? Yes. Compared to 6 millivolts and 5 millivolts. Yes, mas same lang ang magnitude niya. But when it comes to the response of my muscle, my 7 millivolts has a greater response than 6 millivolts and has a greater response than 5 millivolts. Okay? So I hope that's clear. Now, what if nagbigay ako ng 45 millivolt stimulus? That's a supramaximal. Supra meaning beyond. So beyond maximal stimulus. Nagbigay ako ng 45 millivolt stimulus, that's supramaximal stimulus. Lalakas pa ba yung response ko? Hindi na. A supramaximal stimulus will still lead to a maximal response from my muscle. Kasi nga ubos na yung motor unit ko. Wala na siyang i-contract, wala na siyang ilalakas pa. Okay? So that's the summary for intensity and force. Now, what about frequency and force? This is very easy to understand. Siyempre, di ba yung muscle nagko-contract tapos nagre-relax? E paano kung stimulate mo yung muscle mabilis? Hindi pa siya nakapag-relax, stimulate mo ulit. Hindi palakas ng palakas yung contraction. Ayan o. Kapag hinayaan mo siya mag-relax, edi ganyan lang. Contract, relax, contract, relax. Pero kung contract, tapos hindi pa siya tapos mag-relax, kinontract mo na ulit, hindi mas malakas yung contraction. Kapag kinontract mo, tapos hindi pa nga siya nagre-relax, kinontract mo ulit, edi yung lakas na contraction pa nun. That's what you call your tetanization or the summation of your frequencies of your stimulus to produce a much larger force. Okay, how about tension? Diba tension, pulling force? Okay. Kung mapapansin nyo, okay, so this is yung ating normal muscle. Passive tension is just stretching. Passive. So, in-stretch mo lang siya. Hindi mo kinontract yung muscle. In-stretch mo lang siya. Passive tension. So, as you can see, yung pointer natin dito, nandito. In-stretch ko siya ng konti. Okay? Mas lumaki. And then, pag in-stretch ko siya ng todo, kapag tinaasan ko yung length niya, my passive tension is now stronger. Okay? So, anong relationship ng length ng aking muscle sa passive tension? As you can see from this graph, it's direct. The greater I increase the length of my muscle, the greater my passive tension would be. Direct relationship yan. The difference is kapag dating natin ng active tension. Kapag dating natin ng active tension, kino-consider na natin ngayon yung tension ng muscle when it contracts. Yan, during stimulation and during cross-bridge cycling. Kung mapansin nyo, ito yung inactive muscle. Tapos kapag naging active na siya, tumaas yung kanyang tension. That's your active tension. Before that, before I discuss yung relationship ng active tension, meron muna akong kaklarify na nomenclature kasi litong-lito ako ng dati and baka nalilito din kayo. Meron tayong 3 terms. We have optimal length, resting length, and equilibrium length. Of those 3, optimal length is synonymous to your resting length. Medyo mahirap siyang tandaan kasi resting nga, pero paano siya naging optimal? Pero sige, optimal length is the same as resting length. Parehas lang yan. What we call equilibrium length is yung length ng muscle kapag tinanggal mo siya sa bone. So, kung tatanggalin ko tong bicep ko sa bone, hindi wala na siyang connection sa aking bone, hindi na siya na-stretch, lilit siya. Lilit siya. Okay, it will return to 10% of its original length kasi hindi na siya stretched ng tendons ko sa bone to bone eh. Okay, it will return to 10% of its original length. Yun yung sinasabi nating equilibrium length. Okay, so tandaan lang natin yun. Now, what can you notice sa graph ng active tension? This is yung graph ng active tension. Kanina, passive tension, in-stretch lang natin, that increases the passive tension. Very direct relationship. Pero pagdating sa active tension, what can you notice? It's a biphasic relationship, di ba? Una, aakyat muna siya as you increase the length. Pero pag nag-increase yung length, nagdi-decrease na yung tension. Why is that? O sige, start tayo sa equilibrium length o yung shortest length natin. Again, equilibrium length, pag tinanggal mo yung muscle, iliit siya. Okay, 10% of its original length. So, ano mangyayari doon sa myosin and actin filaments natin? Kapag pinaliit mo siya, edi syempre, maglalapit yung myosin and yung actin filaments. Itong myosin, itong blue, dark blue, tas itong actin, itong red. Nakikita nyo, ito. Yan. Kung papansin nyo, dahil sa sobrang liit ng muscle, sa sobrang pag-contract ng sarcomere, lumagpas na yung myosin heads dun sa kabitan niyang actin. So, anong nangyari? Hindi wala nang kabitan si myosin kay actin, hindi walang tension. Diba? Ayan o, hindi na nakakabit si myosin kay actin eh. So, walang tension. So, mababa ang tension natin dito. So, ngayon, okay, pahabain naman natin yung muscle, active tension. So, pag pinahaba ko yung muscle, edi medyo magkakabit na si myosin kay actin. Ayan o. Since optimal, hindi pa optimal, pero medyo kumakabit na. Ayan o. Medyo kumakabit na yung fibers ni myosin kay actin. So, pinahaba ko. Ngayon, pag pinahaba ko siya ng tama lang, okay, tingnan nyo, sobrang optimal na ng connection ng myosin heads ko kay actin. Diba? So, as we can see, this will produce the maximum active tension. And this is our optimal resting length. Magic number is 2.2 micrometers. So at 2.2 micrometers of my sarcomere, that's the maximum active tension. Why? Because that's the maximum amount of cross bridges I formed. Maximum amount of myosin heads binding to my actin. Eh ngayon, pinahaba ko pa. Kanina, sa passive tension, pag pinahaba ko, tataas lang yung passive tension. Kaso, sa active tension, we are interested in the cross-bridging. Pag pinahaba ko pa yun lalo, edi, ganun din, hindi na nagtugma yung connection ng myosin heads ko kay actin. Ayan, since pinahaba ko siya, mas lumayo na tuloy si actin kay myosin, konti na lang tuloy yung nag-cross bridge sa kanila. Itong dalawang myosin heads na to, hindi na nila maabot yung actin filaments. E di bumaba din yung active tension ko. And lastly, kapag in-increase ko pa ng in-increase, in-extend ko pa ng in-extend yung muscle ko, talagang wala nang nangyaring connection, cross bridges sa aking myosin and actin, causing me to have zero active tension. Okay, so in summary, for active tension, it's biphasic. From equilibrium length to optimal resting length, direct relationship ng length to active tension. But from optimal resting length, from here, if I increase the length more, I now decrease my active tension. So I hope that's clear. So in summary, passive tension, from equilibrium length, the greater the length, the greater is the passive tension. Passive tension, in-stretch ko lang talaga. Wala akong paki dun sa cross-bridge cycling. Active tension, may paki na ako sa cross-bridge cycling. From equilibrium length till resting length, the greater the length, the greater is the active tension. Kasi yun yung maximum amount of myosin binding to actin. Pero from resting length, okay, from resting length, pahabain ko pa siya, hindi na nagkabit ngayon si myosin and actin, the lesser now would be my active tension. Okay? So, sige, try natin sagutan to. Correct statement regarding muscle length and force. Sige, 30 seconds. Okay, answer.
Dog.
Okay, dog. From optimal length, the greater the muscle length, the lesser is the active stress. Okay. Teka, balik ako. Okay, so rationalize natin. Active stress is greatest if muscle is 30% of its normal length. Hindi. Active stress is greatest at 2.2 micrometer. That's my resting length of my normal length. Okay, this is my optimal resting length. Dapat 100% to. 100% of my normal optimal resting length. Okay, that's my greatest active stress wherein I have the greatest cross bridges, greatest binding of myosin to actin. B, passive stress is greatest in the unstimulated muscle. Hindi. Passive stress is greatest in the stretched muscle. C, the greater the muscle length, the greater is the active stress. Not necessarily. Okay, kasi once I reach optimal length, kapag in-increase ko pa yung length nun, lesser na yung active stress ko. Tama kayo? So letter D, from optimal length, the greater the muscle length, the lesser is the active stress. Bakit? Kasi kumonti na dito yung connections ng aking myosin kay actin. Okay. So now, let's move on sa ating different types of muscle fibers in relation to the tendon. Okay, we have strap, okay, which are long fibers connected in series. Alam niyo naman yung series, di ba? Parang yan, diretso lang. Tapos parallel ganito. So, from left to right, so radial yung may pinakamataas na parallel, strap yung may pinakamataas na series. Okay? So, what can we surmise about the strength produced here? Okay, here's the summary. Yung mga strap muscles natin, which yung series, so magkakadikit-dikit sila. Okay, dikit-dikit sila longitudinally. So, mga habang muscles yan. Mababa lang yung force generating capacity nila. Pero, yung radial muscle ko, which is the highest amount of parallel fibers, okay, parallel sila, sabay-sabay silang nagpo-produce ng force. Okay? That will give me the greatest force generating capacity. Okay? Pero, when it comes to yung contraction velocity or yung shortening velocity, ang may pinakamabilis ko ngayon is yung aking strap muscles, yung aking series, connected in series na muscle. Kasi nga, mahaba siya, so mabilis siyang makapag-contract. In comparison to aking mga radial muscles which have parallel fibers, so mabagal yung kanyang contraction velocity, pero makapag-produce siya ng greatest amount of force. Okay? So examples ng aking strap, okay, yung series fibers ko, which would be series fibers na muscle, which that would be my sartorius. So sartorius ko is a very long muscle going in the anterior compartment of your thigh. So ito yung ginagamit ng mga runners, okay, that has the fastest shortening velocity. Okay? Pero yung aking example ng aking radial muscle, okay, that produces the greatest force generating capacity. Kasi radial siya, oh. Yung tendon kasi ng diaphragm nasa gitna, tapos yung diaphragm pa ganyan siya. This is parang yung diaphragm when you're looking at it from above. Okay? Tingnan nyo, parallel yung fibers nila going to the tendon. Okay? That will allow me to produce the greatest amount of force, pero mabagal yung kanyang contraction velocity. Kasi malakas ngayon na po-produce niya na forces, so kailangan mabagal yung kanyang shortening contraction velocity. Okay? So example ng triangular muscle ko, that's my gluteus medius, unipennate. I don't think magtatanong naman silang specific muscles. Pero ang mnemonic natin dito would be stubmer. Okay? So this would be increasing fibers in parallel. Okay? And increasing amount of force. So stubmer, so S ang may pinakamababang force generating capacity, radial ang may pinakamataas na force generating capacity. Pero si shortening velocity, pinakamabilis si strap, pinakamabagal si radial. Okay? So another example, ayan, sartorius, very long muscle sa anterior compartment of the thigh. Okay, yan yung ginagamit ng runners kasi it has a very fast contraction or shortening velocity. So ayan, parallel siya. Series strap fibers. Nasa isang linya yung mga fibers. In comparison to deltoid, which is a multipennate, ayan, tatlo kasi heads ni deltoid. Anterior, middle, and posterior deltoid. So multipennate siya. Okay? Sige. Now, when it comes to the production of power, okay, ano ba yung power? Power is work done per second. So, trabaho per second. Joule per second sa physics. Same with your active tension. Okay? It's a biphasic relationship. So, in the x-axis, we can see the load or kung gaano kabigat yung binubuhat mo. Okay? And on the y-axis, we have yung power that you produce. From 0% of maximum load that you can carry to 30% of maximum load that you can carry or 30% na capacity ng muscle. Okay? As you increase the load, pabigat na pabigat yung binubuhat mo, nag-i-increase din yung power production mo or yung work done mo per second. But now, kapag greater than 30% na ng max load, let's say naging 50% na to ng max load na kayang buhatin ng muscle mo, nagdi-decrease na rin yung power output mo. Okay, nagdi-decrease na rin yung trabaho. And don't ask me bakit 30% yung magic number dito, but yan yung relationship niya. Okay, so it's a biphasic relationship. So from 0% to 30%, nag-i-increase yung power production. Pero pag mas bumigat na doon, kumukonti na rin yung production of power mo, of your work per second. Okay? So in summary, intensity and force, that's a direct relationship. Okay? So if kung ang threshold stimulus ko is 5 millivolts, ang maximal stimulus ko is 35 millivolts, from 6 millivolts and above hanggang 34 millivolts, that would increase the force of my muscle. Pero kapag supramaximal stimulus na, would that still have an effect on the force of my muscle? So hindi na. Okay, so C na yon sa VR. Next, frequency and force, that's also direct, di ba? Frequency, taasan ko yung frequency ng stimulus ko, nagtetetanus or nag-i-increase yung force of my contraction ng muscle ko as I increase the frequency of my stimulus. Muscle length and passive tension, that's a direct relationship. Increase ko lang yung length ng aking muscle, passive tension increases. Pero kapag active tension ang pinag-uusapan, we're interested in the cross bridges. It's a biphasic. From equilibrium length, pinakamaliit, to my resting length or yung optimal length ko, I increase my active tension. Kasi dun, maximum na yung cross bridges ko. Pero pag pinahaba ko pa yung sarcomere ko, nawawala na rin yung connections ng myosin actin ko, bumababa na rin yung active tension. Na parallel fibers, since dikit-dikit sila, okay, magkaka-side by side sila, I increase the force of my production. Pero fibers in series, like my strap muscle, like my sartorius, mahaba yon, so mabilis siyang makapag-contract. So ang shortening velocity niya is very fast. So it's a direct relationship. Load and velocity, kung mabigat yung, let's say, nagbubuhat ako ng 5 kilogram dumbbell versus a 10 kilogram dumbbell, saan mas mabilis ang contraction ng aking muscle? Kung 5 kilogram lang, hindi mabilis ko lang yun na flex. Pero kung 10 kilogram dumbbell, mas mabagal yung contraction velocity ko kasi mas mabigat. So that's an inverse relationship. I move from 5 kilos to 10 kilos, my velocity decreases. So that's an inverse relationship. Kasi mas mabigat nga, mas mabagal talaga yung velocity of my contraction. And when it comes to load and power, okay, di ba, from 0 to 30%, that's an increase in the power, 0 to 30% of my maximum load. And 30% and above, that would cause a decrease in my power or my work produced per second. Okay, that's a biphasic relationship. Okay, so this is concept na diniscuss ni Dr. Daisy Tagarda, also in Bern. So, ang concept lang dito is your oxygen depth. And ang sinasabi lang dito is, even after you exercise, okay, you are still using up oxygen for your oxidative phosphorylation. Kahit tapos ka na mag-exercise, kahit nagre-recover ka na, you still have this, okay, oxygen consumption, okay, for your electron transport chain. And the reason for that is, habang nag-exercise ka, ito lang yung energy na napoproduce ng electron transport chain mo. Okay, yan lang yung energy na napoproduce ng electron transport chain mo. Pero yung ginamit mo nung exercise, lumagpas dun. Here is your rate of energy expenditure. So parang nangutang ka muna, kaya kailangan mo bayaran, kaya may oxygen debt ka. So kahit nag-recover ka na, kailangan mo bayaran, gamitin mo pa, kailangan ka pa rin mag-electron transport chain, mag-oxygen consumption, kahit nagre-rest ka na. Okay, pero sa endurance exercise, ito strenuous exercise, pero pag medyo light endurance exercise, hindi ganun kataas yung oxygen debt mo. Ito konti lang. So once again, ang concept lang dito is, habang nag-exercise ka kasi, mas malaki yung ginagamit mong energy kaysa yung pinaprovide ng electron transport chain. So kailangan mo siyang, nangutang ka muna, so kailangan mo bayaran when you recover. Okay, so you still need to do your oxidative metabolism even while recovering. Okay, sige, I think that ends our mini review of your skeletal muscle physiology. So, try natin to for your retrieval practice. Sige, 2 minutes. Sige, chat box na lang, chat box. Okay, si Prince, kompleto na. A, B, B, A, B, A, A, B. Sige, let's discuss. Okay, so myoplasmic calcium skeletal muscle contraction, this would be, okay, A. Kita ba yung annotation? Ay, nagdi-disappear. Wait. Kita ba to? Color green?
Kita,
Yes.
pre.
Okay. So myoplasmic calcium and skeletal muscle contraction, that is a direct relationship. Siyempre, calcium nga is required for your binding of myosin to actin, causing your skeletal muscle contraction. Next, load and contraction velocity. Kung mas mabigat yung load mo, what would happen to your contraction velocity? That would decrease. So, B. Okay? Next, force of contraction ng radial and triangular. Diba? Stabmer. R ang may pinakamataas na force of contraction. This would be A. Next, speed of contraction. Speed of contraction, so again, Stabmer. So, ang may pinakamabilis na speed of contraction is yung strap. Ang pinakamabagal is yung radial. So, this is A. Next, load past 30% of max load and power. So, this is biphasic relationship, di ba? So, this would be B. So, once we reach 30% of max load already, okay, pababa na siya yung power na mapaproduce. Next, length of muscle, wala tong tension. Length of muscle and passive tension, that would be a direct relationship. So pag in-increase ko lang yung pooling ng aking muscle, that would increase my passive tension. Pero pag active tension, that's your cross bridge, okay? Next, oxygen requiring type 1 muscle fiber or type 2 muscle fiber, this would be letter A. Slow oxidative fibers ko. Itong type B, 2B muscle fibers ko are glycolytic, so they don't require oxygen. Okay? Next, for your excitability, anong mas una kong gagamitin? Type 1 or type 2 motor unit? That would be letter A. Yung mga maliliit muna na motor units ang gagamitin ko. Okay. Questions? Ayos ba? Tama ba, guys? Okay. Okay, gusto niyo mag-break? O, diretso na. Okay, sige, let's go. So, for reflex physiology, here is our roadmap. Okay, we'll be dealing with our monosynaptic reflexes. Ibig sabihin, isang synapse lang. Okay, na reflex. And we'll be dealing with polysynaptic reflex, meaning may dadaanan mo na siyang interneuron probably. Okay? So, alam niyo naman yung reflex, di ba? It does not require conscious integration. Most of the time, spinal cord ang integration, pwede rin sa brainstem, ating mga reflexes. So, for our monosynaptic reflexes, we're going to study, again, structure and function. Pero kanina, kung muscles yung di-describe natin, here, we are now describing yung ating muscle spindle organ responsible for your myotatic reflex and yung ating Golgi tendon organ responsible for your inverse myotatic reflex. For your polysynaptic reflexes, okay, we have your withdrawal reflex, your flexor and cross-extensor reflex, and yung postural reflexes natin, especially for yung ating babies, pediatrics, sa kanila tinetesting to. But it's preserved throughout life naman. Okay. So we start with monosynaptic and yung simplest reflexes natin. But before that, let's discuss muna some terms which may be confusing for some of us kasi pare-parehas sila ng pangalan or ang hirap i-distinguish kung ano yung tinutukoy sa kanila. So let's first have a clear picture of what we're dealing with when it comes to reflexes. Okay? We're going to distinguish extrafusal fibers and intrafusal fibers, nuclear bag fibers, nuclear chain fibers, dynamic nuclear bag fibers versus static nuclear bag fibers, annulospiral fibers versus flower spray fibers, 1A fibers versus 2 fibers, and alpha versus gamma fibers. As you can see, lahat ng terms doon ay may term na fiber. Kahit sa libro, kahit sa handout, lahat yun fiber. But the difference is, kalahati ng mga terms na yun are muscle fibers and kalahati ng terms na yun are nerve fibers. So the muscle fibers are your extrafusal, intrafusal, nuclear bag, nuclear chain, and your dynamic nuclear bag and static nuclear bag. For your nerve fibers, we have your sensory, annulospiral fibers and your flower spray fibers, your 1A fibers and your 2 fibers. Ang motor natin, which allows for your contraction, is yung alpha and gamma fibers. Okay? So, distinguish natin yan isa-isa. So, we're going to deal with muscles muna. Lahat ng discuss natin for the next few slides, puro muscles lang. Okay, malilito. For the type of muscle fiber, muscle, we have extrafusal and intrafusal muscles. Extrafusal, extra, nasa labas. Ito yung inisip natin kapag naisip natin yung word na muscle. So, ito yung nagko-contract, itong part na to sa labas. Ito, biceps, quadriceps. Yan yung mismong contractile units ng ating muscle, extrafusal muscle fibers. Kapag intra meaning within, these are muscle fibers located inside or within your muscle. Okay, kaya nga sila intrafusal muscle fibers. Nasa loob. Mamaya, alamin natin yung function ng mga yan. And that's what you call your muscle spindle as well. Okay? Now, we now know the difference between extrafusal and intrafusal fiber. Yung intrafusal fibers, yung nasa loob, meron siyang 2 types. Nuclear bag and nuclear chain. Okay, anong difference niyan? From the name itself, bag and chain. Chain, di ba isang linya lang yan? Bag is maraming laman. Okay, so yung mas mataba sa kanila, that's the nuclear bag intrafusal fiber. The nuclear chain, okay, the nuclear chain is itong payat, slender na mahaba na chain. This is your nuclear chain fiber. Pareha silang intrafusal muscle fiber. Ang kinaibahan lang yung size nila and yung mga nuclei nila. Tingnan, ang daming nuclei na magkakadikit. Okay, bag kasi sila. Ayan, nasa isang bag yung mga nuclei. Itong nuclear chain, nasa isang chain yung mga nuclei. Straight line lang. Okay? Sabi ko dyan, imagine nyo na wala yung mga nakapalibot. Ayan na. Lolo ko ulit yung screen. Sige. Anyway, imagine nyo na wala yung nakapalibot na nerves. Kasi hindi iyan yung intrafusal muscle fiber. Ang muscle fiber lang is, trace ko wala akong mahanap na pic na wala tong nerves na yan eh. Pero ang nuclear bag and nuclear chain lang, ito lang yan Yan. Hindi kasama yung nerve. So that's your nuclear bag intrafusal fiber. This is your nuclear chain intrafusal fiber. Okay. Next. So, intrafusal divided into nuclear bag and nuclear chain. The nuclear bag is divided into dynamic and static. Okay? Si static, from the name itself, static lang siya. Pag nag-increase yung length, mag-increase yung stimulation niya. It measures increases in length. Okay, pag pinahaba mo lang yung muscle, yan yung ma-measure niya, yung length. Pag dynamic, hindi lang yung length, pero yung rate of change of length ng aking muscle. Kung gaano kabilis nag-change yung length ng aking muscle, which is the velocity of my contraction. Yan yung mini-measure ng aking dynamic nuclear bag fiber. So again, we have extrafusal muscle fiber and intrafusal muscle fiber divided into nuclear bag and nuclear chain. And my nuclear bag is divided into dynamic and static. This one is for velocity. This one is for length. Okay? So lahat na diniscuss natin, lahat yun muscle fibers. Now, let's move on sa ating nerve fibers. We now move on to, ano to? Mamaya na to. Babalikan natin to mamaya. Okay. We have types of sensory endings. Ay, sorry. Malito guys. Hindi ko na-edit yung heading. This should not be type 1A versus type 2B. Type of sensory nerve ending. Okay, these are your annulospiral. Okay, versus your flower spray. Okay. So, ang di-differentiate natin dito, nerve na. Nerve, pero dito, nerve ending, yung dulo ng aking nerve, ng aking sensory nerve. We have two types of nerve endings, annulospiral and flower spray. As you can see, ito yung nerve ending niya, nagra-wrap around, parang spiral. Kaya siya tinawag na annulospiral nerve ending. Ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo, meron din tayo tinatawag na flower spray. Ayan, parang, hindi ko alam bakit flower, pero nag-spray out siya. Okay? Yan yung nerve ending. So, ito yung mga nerve ending niya. Okay? Para siyang, ayan, flower spray nga. Okay? So, ito ang kino-compare natin dito is yung nerve ending lang. Here, kino-compare natin yung nerve fiber. Okay? Kino-compare natin yung nerve fiber mismo, which is this one, according sa speed ng pag-relay niya ng stimulus. Okay? According sa speed ng pag-relay niya ng stimulus. Kapag type 1, mabilis. These are the fastest. Sila yung mabilis mag-relay ng information about the changes in muscle length or muscle velocity, contraction velocity. Type 2, mas fastest, kung type 1 is fastest, this type 2B are a little bit slower. Pero mabilis pa rin sila, just a little bit slower than your type 1 fiber. So, mas mabilis si type 1 kaysa kay type 2B. Yun lang yun. Okay? So, once again, okay, yung mga endings ng nerves na yan yung annulospiral and flower spray. Itong 1A and 2 na sinasabi, yan yung speed ng nerve conduction mismo. Okay? Kaya sabi ko dyan, your type 1A afferent nerve fibers, yung mga mabibilis, have annulospiral endings. While your type 2 afferent nerve fibers have flower spray endings. Ibig sabihin, yung mga mabibilis ko na sensory fibers na mag-relay ng changes in muscle length, okay, ang endings nila lahat ay annulospiral. Spiral. Yung mga medyo mabagal ko mag-relay ng information, lahat sila ang ending nila ay flower spray. Ibig sabihin, merong 1:1 correlation ang annulospiral nerve ending and type 1 nerve fiber. And ang aking flower spray ay type 2P. So 1:1 yan. Pag meron kang type 1A fiber, mabilis, annulospiral kaagad ang ending niya. Pag nakita mo yung ending ng nerve, it's an annulospiral. Type 2B, it's flower spray. Okay? So, balikan natin ngayon this one. This is very important. This is a very important diagram kasi pinapakita sa atin dito yung relationship na ng muscle fiber and yung nerve fiber that innervates them. Siyempre, pag nag-contract mga muscle fibers na yan, that will stimulate the nerve fibers. Tama? So, anong difference ngayon ng innervation ng dynamic nuclear bag fiber, static nuclear bag fiber, and nuclear chain fiber? Sabi natin dynamic changes in velocity, static changes in length. As you can see, okay, si 1A, which has annulospiral endings, kaya niya i-innervate lahat. Mapa-nuclear bag, mapa-nuclear chain, mapa-static, mapa-dynamic. Pero si type 2, which is our type 2 nerve fiber with the flower spray ending, kaya niyang i-innervate lahat except the dynamic nuclear bag fiber. Ibig sabihin, si type 2 fiber, which has flower spray endings, cannot detect velocity, changes in velocity. It can only detect changes in length. While si 1A, which has annulospiral endings, transmit signals mapa-dynamic, mapa-static nuclear bag, o nuclear chain. Okay? Sige. Now, let's move on. So, ito yung dalawang sensory, dalawang sensory nerves natin. So, annulospiral flower spray 1A and 2B. Now, we move on sa motor, yung nagpapakontract na ng muscle. Okay? Itong mga sensory afferent fibers to. Sensory fibers. Okay? Ito na yung motor fibers nagpapakontract ng muscle. So, if this is the anterior horn of your spinal cord, central canal, anterior horn, anterior gray horn, diyan manggagaling yung ating mga muscle fibers. We have two types of motor fibers. We have an alpha motor neuron and a gamma motor neuron. Anong difference? Your alpha motor neuron innervates your extrafusal muscle fiber, while your gamma motor neuron innervates your intrafusal muscle fiber. Okay? So, itong extrafusal na to, itong biceps na nakikita natin, or kung anong muscle to, okay? That's innervated by an alpha motor neuron extrafusal fiber. That's an alpha innervates your extrafusal fiber. Pero yung gamma, ini-innervate niya yung muscle spindle sa loob ng muscle, your intrafusal muscle fiber. Okay? So, ngayon, alam na natin pinagkaiba ng ating extrafusal and intrafusal nuclear bag, yung mga clumps of nuclei and nuclear chain, which is a linear chain of nuclei, dynamic nuclear bag and static nuclear bag, dynamic for velocity, static for length, annulospiral, spiral, and flower spray, which have 1:1 correlation. Annulospiral are 1A fibers, okay? And flower spray are 2B fibers. Okay? Or, yan, tama. So, alpha versus gamma fibers, alpha for extrafusal and gamma for your intrafusal. So, now we've got these terms out of the way. There's no more confusion. We have these fibers are muscle fibers and these fibers are nerve fibers. Okay. So, practice. Sige, ako na lang magsasagot. So, rationalize na lang natin. For QC, quantitative comparison, response to velocity, dynamic nuclear bag or static nuclear bag. So, answer here would be letter A. Diba? Dynamic nuclear bag is changes in velocity, static for changes in length. Response to dynamic stimuli, 1A fibers or 2 fibers. Answer again is letter A. Dynamic stimuli, tama, dynamic stimuli are only received by 1A fibers. Si type 2 fibers, lahat ng kanya puro static lang. Number 3, flower spray endings innervate nuclear bag and nuclear chain. Answer C. Okay? So your flower spray endings, innervate both nuclear bag and nuclear chain. Ang hindi kaya ni flower spray, okay, ang hindi kaya ni flower spray ay yung dynamic nuclear bag. Okay? Kaya niya both, nuclear bag and nuclear chain. Ang hindi lang niya kaya, di ba, all except the dynamic. O, dapat pala specify ko na ano to, no? Static nuclear bag. Ayan, static nuclear bag. Pero in general, yes, your flower spray endings can innervate both nuclear bag and nuclear chain except for the dynamic nuclear bag. Next, nuclear chain innervation, annulospiral, and flower spray. Again, the answer here is C. Your nuclear chain is innervated both by your annulospiral and flower spray. Okay? Next. Ayan, no? Sige, balikan natin. Ayan. This is your nuclear chain. And meron siyang flower spray, meron din siyang annulospiral. Okay. Next. Two fibers respond to changes in length, changes in velocity. So si two fibers, hindi niya ang kaya lang niya is static, which is only changes in length. Letter A. Okay, goods. And lastly, intrafusal fiber innervation. This is your gamma motor neuron. Nice, nice. Kasi ang extrafusal fiber, that would be your alpha neuron. Okay. Ay! Nagbaliktad bigla sa answer key. Oh, pero gamma neuron pa rin yung sagot. Ayan. Okay. So now you move on to your monosynaptic reflex from the name itself. Isang synapse lang, tapos balik na kaagad. So receptor, isang synapse lang, papunta na balik na sa muscle. Okay? Now move on to your polysynaptic. Okay? So, ayan. One synapse here, sensory neuron, kaya may dorsal root ganglion. Nag-synapse siya sa isang interneuron, so one synapse. Okay? One synapse. And yung interneuron, i-activate niya yung motor neuron, second synapse. So, it's a polysynaptic reflex. Okay? To go back to your muscle para magkaroon ng reaction. Now, okay. Let's discuss this in depth and slowly. Muscle stretch reflex or your myotatic reflex is a very important monosynaptic reflex. Okay? And dito natin pagko-combine lahat ng terminology na inaral natin kanina. Okay. So, from this diagram right here, what can we notice? Yung extrafusal muscle fibers, sige, sabihin natin biceps to. Yung extrafusal fibers ng biceps ay parallel, okay, parallel, yan, parallel sa fibers nitong intrafusal. Sabay ko ang kulay. Mag-red, ay hindi, green. Ito, yan. Parallel yung fibers nitong extrafusal muscle ko sa intrafusal fibers ko. Parallel sila. Kung parallel sila, okay, what would happen kung nilengthen ko yung extrafusal fiber ko? So, lengthen. Okay? Kung nilengthen ko yan, parallel lang sila eh. So, magle-lengthen din si intrafusal muscle fiber. Parang mahihila lang din siya. So, pag nag-lengthen yung extrafusal muscle fiber ko, nag-lengthen yung biceps ko, magle-lengthen din yung nasa loob niya, na nasa yung intrafusal muscle fiber. Okay? Ayan, sabi dyan, lengthening of extrafusal, lengthening of intrafusal muscle fiber, and the lengthening of the intrafusal muscle fiber stimulates the stretch receptors. Bakit? Kasi di ba, changes in length, especially yung aking static nuclear bag and yung nuclear chain. Sila yun, di ba? Okay. So pag nag-lengthen, yung intrafusal muscle fiber ko, mag-fire sila. Mas-stimulate yung aking stretch receptors. Paano ngayon kung kinontract ko na yung aking muscle? So kinontract ko yung aking muscle, yung aking extrafusal muscle fiber, sorry. Kinontract ko yung aking extrafusal muscle fiber, nag-shorten siya kasi nga kinontract ko. Mali. Okay? Nag-shorten siya ngayon. Ano mangyayari sa parallel ko ng intrafusal muscle fiber? E di mag-shorten din siya. Magiging slack siya or ayan, shortening or slackening of my intrafusal muscle fiber. So paano na ngayon yan? Nag-shorten yung intrafusal muscle fiber ko. Hindi na mas-stimulate yung nuclear bag and nuclear chain intrafusal muscle fibers ko. Paano ngayon ako magkakaroon ng proprioceptive information or information about the length of my muscle? Hindi naman pag nilengthen ko lang, doon ko lang kailangan malaman yung length ng muscle ko. Kailangan din malaman ng brain ko yung length ng muscle ko kapag nakakontract yung muscle. 'Di ba? Kaso nga, lumiit yung intrafusal muscle fiber ko nung nag-contract yung extrafusal muscle fiber. So, hindi na ngayon magko-fire yung stretch receptors ko. Ayan, no stimulation of stretch receptors. So, paano yan? Paano malalaman ng spinal cord or ng brain, o sige, spinal cord, yung length ng muscle kung hindi na nasa-stimulate yung stretch receptor? That's where alpha-gamma co-activation comes in. Remember, your gamma motor neuron innervates your intrafusal muscle fiber. Tama? Di ba? Your alpha innervates extrafusal, your gamma innervates your intrafusal muscle fiber. Your intramusal muscle fiber is still a muscle. Kapag in-stimulate mo yun, magko-contract yun. So pag nag-fire din yung gamma motor neuron ko, magko-contract yung aking intrafusal muscle fiber. But the difference is, kapag nag-contract yung extrafusal fiber ko, nag-shorten yung muscle, di ba? Pag extrafusal yung kinontract ko, nag-shorten yung muscle. Nag-shorten yung biceps ko. Pero, baliktad siya kapag kay intrafusal fiber contraction. Baliktad siya. Kapag nag-contract si intrafusal muscle fiber, pinapahaba or pinapalengthen niya yung intrafusal fiber. Para saan? Yung pag-lengthen ng intrafusal fiber para ma-stimulate si stretch receptors, sila static nuclear bag and si nuclear chain. Bakit natin kailangan i-stretch? Ba't natin kailangan i-stimulate yung nuclear bag and nuclear chain? Para malaman ng spinal cord natin kung ano yung length ng aking muscle kahit contracted siya. Okay? So, gamma motor neuron firing causes the contraction of my intrafusal muscle fiber, lengthening and stretching it, causing the stimulation of my muscle spindle. That's what you call alpha-gamma co-activation. Kapag nag-contract si alpha motor neuron, kapag na-stimulate si alpha motor neuron to contract my extrafusal muscle fiber, magko-contract din si aking intrafusal muscle fiber through my gamma motor neuron, causing it to lengthen and activate my stretch receptors. Both of them fire at the same time, therefore alpha-gamma co-activation. So, sige, clarify natin nomenclature galing to sa lecture. Extrafusal fiber is a skeletal muscle, as I said. Intrafusal is your muscle spindle organ sa loob nun. Extrafusal fiber contraction is the shortening. Pag kinontract ko siya, shortening. Extrafusal fiber stretching, lengthening ng aking extrafusal fiber. Next. Intrafusal na tayo, yung nasa loob na. Intrafusal fiber contraction causing the lengthening of my intrafusal fiber. Baliktad intrafusal fiber contraction, parang niyang pinupull. Parang ganun yung ginagawa ng gamma motor neuron. Pag nag-fire yung gamma motor neuron, parang niyang pinupull yung intrafusal fiber to stretch, causing lengthening. Kapag nag-relax yung intrafusal fiber, it will cause shortening. Okay? Sige. So now, that's your monosynaptic reflex. Stretch reflex, okay? So, now we move on to your inverse myotatic reflex. So, kanina, we're dealing with differences in muscle length. Now, we're going to deal with changes in muscle tension. Kaya, ang organ na ginagamit natin dito, kung kanina is muscle spindle organ, here is the Golgi tendon organ. So, tendon tension. So, parang ganun ko siya naalala. So, here, kung kanina, 1A and 2B fibers yung nagpa-fire. Here, ang nag-activate na ng Golgi tendon organ ko is a 1B afferent fiber. Okay? So, bakit siya inverse myotatic? Kasi kanina, sa myotatic, muscle length. So, pag nag-lengthen, magpa-fire. Dito, kapag nag-contract, may tension, anong mangyayari? Okay. So, my Golgi tendon organ, okay, my Golgi tendon organ will receive signals relating to muscle tension. Kapag nag-contract yung muscle ko against a load. Ayan, may load siyang kinikerry, nagko-contract yung muscle. Okay? Pero sabi dyan, if excessive load is placed on the muscle, so sobra-sobra na, the Golgi tendon reflex is activated, okay, causing the relaxation of my muscle. Okay? So kanina sa aking stretch reflex, the lengthening causes contraction. Here, the shortening dahil dun sa tension, dahil dun sa load ko, sa pag-contract ko, sobrang bigat, causes the relaxation and lengthening of my muscle. Kasi sobrang bigat na, kailangan ko na i-relax, kailangan ko na i-lengthen ulit. That's my inverse myotatic reflex. Okay? So, again, retrieval practice. Sige, isa-isayin natin. VR, variation relationship. Alpha motor neuron firing. Extrafusal fiber relaxation. This is B. Kasi dapat this is alpha motor neuron firing, extrafusal fiber contraction. Next, extrafusal fiber relaxation, intrafusal fiber activation. Okay, so ano nangyayari kapag nag-relax yung extrafusal fiber ko? Kapag nagre-relax yung extrafusal fiber ko,
Lengthen.
nagle-lengthen. So ano mangyayari sa intrafusal fiber ko? They will be activated.
Activated.
Okay. Next, gamma motor neuron firing and intrafusal fiber contraction. This is also A. Yan nga yung purpose niya, di ba? Your gamma motor neuron stimulates your intrafusal fiber. Alpha motor neuron firing and intrafusal fiber shortening. This is also A. Bakit? Kapag nag-fire yung alpha motor neuron ko, ano mangyayari sa aking extrafusal fiber? Magko-contract. Kapag nag-contract yung extrafusal fiber ko, dahil parallel yung intrafusal doon, mag-shorten din siya. Okay. Next, alpha motor neuron firing. Okay, so nag-contract ako. What will happen to my intrafusal fiber contraction? Ano mangyayari? Nag-fire yung alpha motor neuron, magko-contract ba si intrafusal fiber? Hindi, because that is activated by your gamma motor neuron. Okay. Ay, by the way, baka isipin nyo, di ba? Since nag-fire yung alpha motor neuron, okay, nag-fire yung alpha motor neuron, tapos alpha-gamma co-activation. So dapat, mag-fire din yung gamma motor neuron. Kapag nag-fire yung gamma motor neuron, dapat magko-contract din yung intrafusal fiber. Yes, valid. Unfortunately, sa Samplex, C ang sagot. So I think ang thought process ni Dr. Cabrera is gusto niya talagang gamma motor neuron. Parang direct, talaga. Parang yun yung gusto niya, na gusto niya gawing gamma to para mag-contract yung intrafusal. Or kung alpha man to, dapat extrafusal to. Pero yes, kung nag-fire yung alpha motor neuron, there's gamma co-activation. That will indeed contract yung intrafusal fiber. Pero to be safe, C na lang sagot natin. Yan yung nasa Samplex. Next, we have a, gamma motor neuron firing and intrafusal fiber lengthening. This is, so pag nag-fire yung gamma motor neuron ko, that will contract my intrafusal fiber causing the lengthening. Okay? Sige. So we move on to your polysynaptic reflexes. So, unti na lang. So your polysynaptic reflex, kaya siya tinawag na polysynaptic kasi there's one synapse here papuntang interneuron and another synapse here from your interneuron to your motor neuron. Okay. So as we can see here, so label muna natin yung parts ng diagram para hindi tayo malito. We have here your foot, nakatapak ng broken glass. Okay, nakatapak siyang broken glass. And the pain will be relayed by your sensory fibers. Ang tawag doon is your A delta fibers and your C fibers. A delta is fast pain. C fibers is your slow pain fibers. I think na-discuss natin to sa histo, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So, na-receive yun. Tapos, magsisynapse siya with your interneuron here, which can either be excitatory or inhibitory interneuron. Okay. Kung nakatapak ka ng ma-sharp na bagay, Gusto mo bang i-extend yung paa mo para lalong matapakan yung bagay? Or i-flex mo para lumayo ka dun sa bagay? Siyempre, gusto mong ilayo yung paa mo dun sa matulis na bagay. So what will be activated? Your leg flexors or your leg extensors? That would be your leg flexors. So the interneuron that activates the motor neuron going to your leg flexors will be active, are excitatory and will allow the contraction of your leg flexors. Meanwhile, ayaw mo naman na i-extend yung quadriceps mo, kasi quadriceps is your extensor of your knee joint. Pag in-extend mo yan, idalong natapakan mo yung matulis na bagay, ayaw mo naman mangyari yun. So you need to inhibit the firing of your motor fiber going to your leg extensor. So this interneuron right here is inhibitory. So stopping the contraction of your leg extensors. Okay. Ngayon, na-flex mo na yung paa mo, lumayo ka na dun sa matulis na bagay. Di na-outbalance ka ngayon kasi wala ka ng pantukod. Diba? Sa paa na yon. So anong gagawin ng kabilang mong paa para hindi ka ma-outbalance, para may pantukod ka? Ang gagawin ng kabilang paa mo, okay, i-extend niya yung sarili niya. Sana hindi niya extend dun sa matulis na bagay din. So yung kabilang paa, i-extend niya yung sarili niya, tutukod niya sa isang safe place. So extend para matukod niya. Okay, para hindi ka ma-outbalance. Okay? So that would activate your motor neurons going to your leg extensors, contralateral leg extensors. And ayaw mo naman na i-flex din yung kabila mong paa. Pag flex may kabila mong paa, parang nag-Indian sit, tas babagsak ka habang nakatayo. So ayaw mo naman, lalo ka na outbalance, diba? So pag flex mo both of your leg flexors, diba? Lalo kang na-outbalance. So you want your contralateral leg flexors to be inhibited so that your leg extensors can activate so that you can para may stabilizer ka sa kabilang paa, para hindi ka ma-outbalance. Okay? So, in summary, what happened here? Okay, in summary, what happened here? You have an ipsilateral, okay? You have an ipsilateral activation of your leg flexor to get out of the stimulus, an ipsilateral stopping of the stimulation of your leg extensors, okay, para hindi na lalong lumala yung pagtapak mo doon sa sharp object, and a contralateral stimulation, okay, of your leg extensors for you to have a balance, to be stable, and a contralateral inhibition of your leg flexor. Okay? So, sasagutin natin to with a delta stimulation, meaning there's pain, there is contralateral flexor stimulation. Is this true? Hindi. Kapag nagkaroon ka ng contralateral flexor, ayun nga, lalo kang na-outbalance, wala ka ng pantukod. Is there ipsilateral extensor stimulation? Wala din. Kung in-extend mo yung ipsilateral extensor mo, lalo mo tinapakan yung matulis na bagay. Next, ipsilateral flexor stimulation. Yes, true. Diba? You want to flex your ipsilateral leg to get out of the stimulus. Flex mo yung leg mo para to get out of the sharp object. Is there contralateral extensor stimulation? Yes, para may pantukod ka na paa for you to be stable. Is there a 3-synapse flexor withdrawal? This is actually false. Your flexor withdrawal is only a 2-synapse system. And similar here, this is also false. Your extensor, kasi nga, di ba, kabilang side pa siya. Kaya nga crossed extensor yung tawag. Crossed extensor, kabilang side. Okay? So, medyo marami pa siyang dinaan ng interneurons. So, this is a 3-synapse system. Okay? Ayun. Okay. And so, lastly, we have your postural reflexes. Nung chinek ko yung samplexes, there are absolutely no questions in the short quiz ng 2022-2023 and 2023-2024. And only 1 or 2 questions sa lahat ng long exam. Lahat na ng long exam. Mga paanong year yan. Pero ang tinatanong lang, yung level of integration, true or false. So this is probably very, very low yield unless gusto mong makuha yung extra points. I will just tackle the important points. Oo nga, sobrang pedia na ito. Mga babies yung pictures ko dito. So I'll just tackle the important points and some key things to note para mag-group nyo ng maayos yung integration centers. Okay? So, we have here your spinal cord reflexes, your positive supporting reaction, meaning kapag tumama yung sole kapag yung sole of the foot ng baby tumama sa ground, sa isang surface, so i-extend niya yan to support himself. So i-extend niya tong buong limb to support himself para makatayo siya. So kapag naman negative supporting reaction, baliktad. So kapag sobrang extended naman ng limb, okay, so i-contract naman niya para hindi siya masubsob. Kasi pag sobrang extended, masusubsob siya. Diba? Okay. So that's negative supporting reaction. So too much extension naman causes the flexion. That's your negative supporting reaction. Kapag naman medullary reflexes, we have two. Tonic labyrinthine reflex. The reason bakit ganito yung pangalan niyan is yung labyrinth refers to your inner ear. And in your inner ear, you have there your balance receptors in your semicircular canals, in your basta yung mga otolithic organs natin. Okay? So kapag hinawakan mo si baby na ganito, so para siyang nahuhulog, okay, nararamdaman ng otolithic organs yan na parang na-outbalance. So you want to maintain upright position. Okay? So ang ginagawa ng reflex na to, kinocontract niya yung mga extensor muscles. In-extend niya tong arms, in-extend niya tong legs, in-extend as binabalik yung head into the original position. Ayan, fine-flex yung head into the original position. Kaya siya tinawag na tonic labyrinthine because labyrinthine, yung for balance, tonic means tone for muscle contractions. Ayan, contract yung muscles niya because of a stimulation of your labyrinthine organs. Kapag naman tonic neck reflex, okay, ang nangyayari dito is, so neck, kapag nag-move yung neck ni baby sa one side, bakit tayo may tonic dito? Because of the extension of your ipsilateral limb. So kapag minove ni baby yung neck niya to the left, mag-extend din yung limb niya to the left. Same side, ipsilateral side. So ayan, tonic contraction of the ipsilateral limb due to a neck stimulus to one side. Now, when it comes to your midbrain reflexes, we have here your writing reflexes. Writing hindi ibig sabihin na papunta sa kanan. Writing ibig sabihin tinatama. Di ba? You write your mistakes, itama mo yung mga mali mo. Tinatama mo kasi naalis si baby from a stable position. So pag naalis si baby sa isang stable position, gusto niya ibalik sarili niya sa original position. So for example, labyrinthine writing reflex, napansin ng labyrinthine organs na na-outbalance si baby, tinilt nung caregiver yung hawak niya kay baby. Naging tilted na siya, kawawa naman. Pero yung head niya, tingnan nyo, galing. Bumalik sa, hindi na-tilt palikod, pero tumayo pa rin. That's your labyrinthine writing reflex. Na-right pa rin yung position ng head ni baby. Kapag naman neck writing reflex, okay, kapag tinurn yung neck ni baby to one side, okay, magta-turn yung buong katawan niya to the right side. Kasi tinurn mo yung neck niya, okay, to one side, okay, so parang hindi na optimal yung position niya. So, kailangan sumunod din yung buong katawan. So, i-right mo yung position ng buong katawan. Yung buong torso niya, pati yung lower limb, sumunod. Okay, huwag kayo malilito. Dito sa tonic neck, yung neck lang, tapos yung neck lang na tumingin sa one side, tapos nag-extend lang yung limb. Dito, tumingin sa one side, tapos yung buong katawan yung nag-right. So, tinama niya yung position ng buong katawan to the right. At to the left ni baby. Okay? So, kapag naman body on head, writing reflex, and yung body on body, from the names themselves, body on head, so yung body may effect sa head, and yung body may effect sa body, ito yon. So, and tsaka ito. So, si baby, inurong niya yung leg niya to this side. Okay? So, that's the stimulus, yung body na sinasabi. On head, ibig sabihin, may effect yung pag rotate niya ng leg to one side sa head. So, tumingin din yung head niya to this side. Body on body, may effect yung pag-turn ng body niya sa body din. So, nag-turn yung leg niya to one side, nag-turn din yung buong torso niya to the other side. Okay? Kanina, ang stimulus nitong neck writing is the movement of the neck. Nag-move yung neck to one side, nag-move yung buong katawan to the same side. Ito, nag-move yung body to one side, nag-move yung head to one side, that's body on head, and nag-move din yung torso niya to the other side, to the same side, that's the body on body writing reflex. So nira-right lang niya yung position ni baby, tinatama lang yung position ni baby. Yan yung awkward na position, no? Ito mas maganda yung position ni baby. So na-right na yung position niya, writing reflex. Ito naman, cerebral cortex reflexes, optical writing. I'm not sure what this means. Siguro optical, nakita ni baby na tumagilid yung, tinagilid siya ng caregiver. Nakita siguro ni baby, ba't tagilid na yung nakikita ko? So, bumalik din yung head niya to the original position para upright na ulit siya. That's optical writing. Placing reaction, yung kapag pinlace mo yung dorsal surface, okay, ng limbs ni baby, automatic niyang ipi-place yung ventral surface or yung palmar surface or your plantar surface. Kanyari, for example, ito, tumama yung dorsal surface ng paa ni baby doon sa table. So, pinlant na kagad niya yung foot, pinlace na kagad niya yung foot doon sa table. Ito naman, pinlant ni baby yung dorsal surface ng hand niya, tapos pinlant na niya yung palmar surface ng hand niya dito sa aking table. So, pinlace na niya. Okay? Ito naman, si hopping reaction, kapag pinush mo si baby to one side, okay, so pinush mo si baby pa ganun, para hindi siya na-outbalance, mag-hop daw siya. That's your hopping reaction. Okay? Sige. So, para madali natin matandaan, kung ang tinatanong lang naman usually is yung integration center. So, lahat ng supporting reaction, that's whether positive supporting reaction or negative supporting reaction, ang integration nun is in the spinal cord. So, S supporting S spinal cord. Lahat ng tonic reflexes, tonic labyrinthine and neck tonic reflex sa medulla lahat. Lahat ng writing reflex, okay, except the optical writing reflex is in the midbrain. So, labyrinthine writing, neck writing, body on head, and body on body, lahat yon sa midbrain ng integration. Except for the optical writing reflex. So, iniisip ko na lang, optical, di ba? Optic nerve. Yung nasa brain na yun eh. So, cerebral cortex na yung integration center. Next, and lastly, yung placing and hopping reactions, sila lang yung dalawang nag-integrate sa cerebral cortex mismo. So, iniisip ko na lang, medyo complex na yung nangyari dito. Pinlace na ni baby yung niya sa table, tapos nag-hop siya nung pinush siya laterally. So, medyo complex na nga, medyo kailangan ng planning. So, cerebral cortex na yung gagamitin ni baby for the integration. Okay, I think that about sums up what I want to summarize about yung ating reflex physiology. I hope na-clarify natin yung main concepts. I just want to say a couple of words. Okay, so 1 month pa lang tayo magkakasama. Tapos, I think lahat tayo sobrang nanibago and nahihirapan sa pacing ng ating lessons and exams. I just want to say na your goal is not to pass or even ace the exam. Why? Because these are uncontrollables. Hindi ako gumawa ng exam, hindi kayo gumawa ng exam. What is in our control is the way we perform to the best of our capabilities. Our goal is to prepare and study without regrets. Hindi yung pagkatapos ng exam, sasabihin mo sarili mo, sana pala hindi na lang ako natulog, sana inaral ko na lang. Our goal is to study without regrets. Nagawa natin yung best natin. Our goal is to not let ourselves down. Okay? Kaya bang sabihin sa sarili mo at the end of the day that you really and genuinely gave it your all? Your goal is not to betray the trust of the people who believe in you. Isipin nyo guys, ang dami-daming tao, pamilya nyo, mga kaibigan nyo, mga teachers nyo dati na hinubog kayo at naniniwala sa inyo para maging doktor. Okay? So we should not betray the trust of these people because they have our backs. And so we should also make them proud. Okay? Focus on what we can control. Hindi natin control kung ano lalabas sa exam, but we can control how we prepare for it. So maraming salamat sa pagpunta at pakikinig. Sakto, 3 p.m. Do you have any questions? 2 motor and 3 motor synapse. Sige. Okay, so for your flexor withdrawal reflex, Okay? Delete muna natin yung ano. For your flexor withdrawal reflex, our first synapse is your sensory neuron and your interneuron. Synapse number 1. Second synapse is in your interneuron and your motor neuron. Dalawang synapse. Next, for your crossed extensor, since sa kabilang side pa siya, dalawang interneuron dadaanan niya. So, this is your sensory nerve relaying the pain. First synapse with your interneuron. Interneuron crosses to the other side to synapse with another interneuron. This is your second synapse. And your second interneuron activates your motor neuron for your muscle contraction. This is your third synapse. So isipin nyo na lang, crossed extensor, kabilang side. So tatlo yung synapse niya. Pag flexor withdrawal, same side lang, maikli lang yung dadaanan. So dalawang synapse lang.